This is the Doctor, President-elect of the High Council of Time Lords.
I am definitely a madman with a box.
Anyone for jelly, baby?
I'm the Doctor. I'm 904 years old. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Castabras.
Hey Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name is Adam.
And we're at episode 81.
81.
Was that like a Cyberman-y
It was
type of thing?
Yes, it was somewhere in between a Dalek and a Cyberman, a new creation.
A hybrid.
A hybrid, yeah.
Tish.
We shall have to put out some, go on Periscope or do a video or something sometimes so people can see us dancing like fools to the intro. Because we do it every week.
We do it every single time, don't we?
Dad dancing, making boxes and hands in the air, waving around.
Yeah, we do like we're a rave kind of dance, and then we do like the point and click, and then we do that. Yeah, it's all crazy.
A couple of boxes, big box, little box. We do it all in the intro, but you guys don't get to see it. We'll have to put that out sometime. Maybe on the YouTube channel when we get some videos on there.
Yeah, I could do that. The Periscope idea is cool. If you guys are into Periscope, we'll show you that if you want.
I haven't got my head around Periscope yet. I downloaded it when Big Finish were doing all their stuff on Periscope, Big Finish Day, so I downloaded it. And I think my phone was too full because it wouldn't actually load the app. So I really struggled with it and just got in a huff and gave up. But I hear it's very good.
It is very good.
Yeah. Do you use it a lot?
I don't use it to broadcast anything, but I follow quite a few people on there and watch their Periscopes. Yep.
Next time we get together in the flesh, you'll have to show me, because it sounds like the sort of thing I'd like. And it'd be good if we could get on there. Yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah, it would be good.
If our listeners use Periscope, let us know.
Yeah, let us know if you guys use it. We'll put our ugly mugs on there.
Just for the intro.
Just for the intro, yeah.
Yeah.
Some cool news coming up. Interesting Capaldi stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And some other merchy bits.
Merch corner, yeah.
Before we get that, though, we'll get to that. How have you been, buddy?
I've been great.
You've been on some travels, haven't you?
Yeah, I've had a absolutely stonking weekend away in Cardiff, which, was just amazing. I managed to pack in so much you would not believe. And it was just brilliant, yeah. Did the Cardiff Castle. I got a few of my locations wrong. I was looking for the fireplace in Heaven Sent. So I was going around this blimmin' house and castle and everything, going, where's that fireplace? And of course it's Caerphilly Castle, totally different location. But I got to see did get to see a few Doctor Who locations in Cardiff, and then I went to the Doctor Who Experience on the Saturday, which was really good. I know you've been a few times.
Yep.
Really geeked out of that. Did the TARDIS set tour, which was great. The only thing was, they said they'd give you an hour.
Right.
Good sort of half an hour at least in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
But you walk over there, which takes a good 5 minutes, and they split you into two groups, and half of you get like a little behind the scenes chat, and they sort of take a Dalek apart while the other half look around the set. Okay, and then they swap you over. And but when they swap you over, you then get split into two groups again, so you actually only get 10 minutes on the actual TARDIS itself. Now, 10 minutes sounds a long time, but believe me, it felt like 30 seconds. I literally walked in, did a bit of filming, and she was like, come on, guys, sorry, we've got to go. And I was like, you're joking? I've literally, what? So I didn't feel like I could take it in, but let me tell you, what a amazing set. I was just, my jaw was on the floor. It is gorgeous.
You're right.
And I was just going mad trying to film every single square inch of it. So that was really, really good. and then on the Sunday I did the Cardiff Comic Con, and I met Colin Baker.
Hey.
And he was in a really good mood.
Oh, nice one.
He was. I mean, I've met Colin quite a few times, but he was like really jovial and making a lot of jokes and joking around. And I've never seen him so I don't know, upbeat really. I mean, he's always sort of chatty and friendly, but he was like sort of almost on a high, really. But yeah, it was great. It was really good. Got into Simon Regeneration set, and then they had like a what do they call it, panel chat at the end of the day. Colin was there, Nicola Bryant was there, Deborah Watling was there, and one of the masters, and I've completely forgotten his name. But yeah, it was really good, and it all went well. And I kept thinking, is Colin going to mention the poll list? Because we do like to laugh.
Oh no, yeah.
And got right to the end. I thought, no, he's not going to. And then he did. Someone asked what his favourite episode was or something, and it was like a match was lit. He suddenly went on a right tirade.
Oh.
Why do we have to have lists? Why do we have to have best this, that? And he went on one. I was just thinking, I wish Gary was here to see this. He'd love it. And I did try and film it, but I got told to stop filming by the Showmaster people, which was a shame because I really, really wanted you to see it. But yeah, so it was an amazing weekend. Packed loads in. Out of all of that, one of the highlights for me was going to Eddie's Diner, where they filmed the the Impossible Astronaut and not Hellbent.
Heaven
yeah,
Sent.
Hellbent. Yeah,
Oh,
I was
Hellbent, yeah.
too mixed up. Yeah. So that was good. I really, really liked it. And they had a really horrible, delicious, but horribly greasy hot dog. It was like really, it was falling all messy. Actually, it was not greasy, it's messy, but really tasty and really nice people actually in there as well. Like I was going around taking 1,000 photos, and yeah, it was just great to think, this Capaldi's been in here and they filmed all this in here. And table 11 we managed to sit on eventually after glaring at the people long enough. They moved and we
bullied them out.
Table 11 where they filmed the Matt Smith episode. So yeah, so crammed a lot in. It's been a fantastic weekend in Cardiff. I have to say the people I met were just so friendly. Just in general, I kept saying this is like in all the restaurants, all the staff.
Do you mean just the Welsh people in general? All the people at the convention?
Everywhere I went, all the Welsh people just seem... when people are just sort of being nice, just to, like if you go in a restaurant in London or whatever, they'll say, hello, and they've got a false grin on. Everyone that served us or everyone I chatted to seemed to want to just genuinely chat and be friendly. It was, I don't know if I was just lucky, but, there was like people at the convention. There was a woman I kept seeing as I was walking around, and she came up and gave me a big hug. She had a big Star Wars t-shirt on. I don't know. People just seem really friendly down there. I loved it. Just very, very relaxed.
Yeah, that's why I love going to. I love going to Wales and Cardiff in particular. It's a great place, and the people. You're right. You're right. It's not just a coincidence when you were there. They are lovely people.
It's because it's the first time I've been as well. You see, so maybe it just took me a bit by surprise because, in London we don't always get. Very nice staff, and it just made a change to be around people that were seen to be genuinely jolly and upbeat and wanting to chat. It was great. Yeah,
cool. And it's you mentioned Ed's Diner, which is a great place, but I have to agree with you. You couldn't eat there all the time. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things with like a now and then, because it's quite calorific.
Yeah, in fact, the first table, because I'm quite a large guy, and the first table we sat in, I could only just get into it because they're like those, what do you call them? Where the seats and table are static, so you have to sort of slide in.
Oh, yeah.
So I could just about get in. I was thinking, if I have another milkshake and hot dog, I won't be able to get out of here. I'll be here stuck here, be in the in the Cardiff Gazette. Man gets stuck in diner. But when we moved to table 11, there was a bit more room, thank goodness, so I could breathe and enjoy the hot dog. But
nice one.
Yeah, it's good. And I did sneak out the back. They've got like a TARDIS door out near the toilets, but it's actually like the storeroom, so I did sneak out and have a look at that as well.
Oh, cool.
So it was all good, mate. So yeah, an absolutely cracking weekend.
Great
to meet. I know, I would have loved you to have been there, mate. I would have loved it, but got to meet up with Tom Dix, one of our listeners from Epic Who.
Oh, Tom. Yep.
He was really cool. Got to meet Loopy Land, another one of our listeners. Lou, I'm a little bit in love with you. I have to say, you might need to get a restraining order because she's so nice, and she made me a little gift, her and her partner. So that was really cool, and just everyone in general, just really, really nice. So yeah, great weekend, loved it. And that's been me pretty much. It's just taken over. I'm still like, here we are, all these days later, and I'm still just buzzing about it. So
conventions are great, aren't they?
Oh, I love
just hanging out and geeking out with people. It's one of the best things about doing what we do, I suppose, and not necessarily if you run a podcast or a YouTube channel or anything like that. Just going to conventions and meeting up with people and geeking out. It's really cool.
Yeah, it
Love
is.
that.
Yeah, and also I nearly forgot. She also spent most of the kind of Comic Con with another listener and YouTuber, Dean Jones, who's a thoroughly nice guy, and he filmed Colin signing the Regeneration set for me. So it's good to meet you too, Dean. And I keep thinking I'm bound to forget someone because I met so many people that sort of listen to the show and we've sort of got to know. So I hope I haven't forgotten anyone. But yeah, it was great. And I must just say, Deborah Watling, who played Victoria, such a nice lady. I had such a nice little chat with her. In fact, she was talking. I mean, I was loving it. She was talking forever, but I was aware that there was a guy behind me thinking, "Come on, mate, hurry up!" And I wanted to say, "Well, it's not actually me chatting," but she was so lovely, mate, Victoria Watling, and she told me that she's heard a rumor that they found Evil of the Daleks, and I was like, "Deborah, are you sure?" Because these rumours go flying around. She's like, well, it is just a rumour. And so we kind of said, okay, well, we won't get excited then. But yeah, that would be amazing if that was true.
Yeah, that could be big news.
I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but just guys, before we get excited, she did clarify just a rumour that's floating around, but she'd heard they'd found it.
I can imagine people flying up off of their seats right now to
know.
their computer like, they found it, they found it.
Well, don't blame the messenger. Go and speak to Deborah at the next convention because she's a lovely lady. And she was also saying how because I said I enjoyed Downtime.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
I said I really enjoyed that. She said, I haven't seen it yet. They haven't sent me a copy. I was like, oh, so that's a bit awkward. Yeah.
Show business, eh?
Show busy. But yeah. Anyway, enough about my weekend. It was brilliant, fantastic. What have you been up to?
Well, I can't really say anything to top that, mate. I've done very little. My last week pales in comparison to your mammoth geek weekend. I've honestly haven't done that much really. The only thing I've done is a bit of shopping.
Oh yeah.
I went on a bit of a classic DVD ordering spree. So I've got like 7 or 8 of those turn up yesterday. I've got another couple arriving on Saturday. So the shelf is looking pretty healthy downstairs with all the classic DVDs and stuff. I think I've got about 85 of them, 90 now. So I'm nearly up to 100 of them.
Wow.
So I think I'm just under half of the collection that's out there you can buy. Something like that anyway.
It's amazing how quickly they suddenly start racking up on the shelf, isn't it?
I think I'm going to have to get a bigger bookshelf or cabinet to put them in. Because I'm starting to pull like other films off that I haven't seen in years. I'm like, charity shop, you know, trying to make room. But I'm still got this huge quandary, mate. And perhaps you can help, or some of our listeners can help who have got the classic DVD collection as well. I'm still torn whether to keep the individual DVDs inside the box sets, the ones that come in the box sets, because my OCD is battling with my other OCD. And that is, I want to keep the box sets together because they are a box set. So like that half of me, that half of my OCD is like, you need to keep them as box sets because you bought them as box sets and they come with like the nice container, stuff like that. The other half of my OCD says, yes, but that's fine. But if you do that, then they're out of chronological order.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So I'm really battling with myself. And I know that if I take them out and discard the box sets, I'll regret it. But it's still like
don't
niggles
discard
me.
them. Yeah, don't discard them, mate. I know exactly what you mean because you know how OCD I am about stuff, and yeah, it drives me mad because you get a box set with, say for example, a William Hartnell and a Fifth Doctor story in one box set, and you're thinking, well, I want to put the stories where they should be.
Yeah.
And also, it's funny. It's bad when you go to when we go to review one, and I can't find an episode. I think, well, where is it? I'm going through, thinking, well, because I've got them all in order, obviously. And you're going through thinking, well, there's the Fifth Doctor. Where's that story? And then you realise it's in like the Earth box set or something. And you're like, so it is paired up with a First Doctor one. And, you know, the only thing I can say is if you've got room, I would take them out of the box, put them all in order, but then line your boxes up on top. So you've got a nice display at the top with the boxes, you know, all spine on so you can see the nice spines, but then you've got all your DVDs in order.
It is interesting and it is annoying at the same time because I don't want to overthink it. I don't want to sit there and just because in my living room I've got like the bookshelf or cabinet, whatever, where they all are, is always in view. So even when I'm just sitting there watching normal crappy TV in the evening, I glance over and I think, should I? Shouldn't I? It's like constantly on my mind when I look at it. So, but I don't want to overthink it. I just want to put them on there, enjoy them and stuff like that. So if anyone's got any views on that stuff, what you should do or shouldn't do, please let me know.
Let's know. I wish they did them in complete series sets, actually. I know, obviously, we've got stories that are missing, but it would take up so much less space if they did like the complete McCoy years and the complete Colin Baker era. And the Tom Baker era would be a hell of a box set, wouldn't it?
Well, they've started to do these introductory box sets. I don't know if you've seen them. I saw them in HMV the other day. It's like an introduction to the Fifth Doctor or an introduction to Peter Davison or something like that. And it's a little box set with 3 or 4 individual stories. So that's another box set. So if you were to buy that, that's not too bad, but the stories aren't like in order. They're just randomly picked, stories from that era. So yeah, maybe one day they'll do like a gigantic collector's edition that comes in like a half scale TARDIS or something.
Oh wow!
Like every single DVD and Blu-ray ever released with the soundtracks, like a massive media, but it'd probably be like, like $8,000 or something. But
I was just going to say, can you imagine the cost of it? Yeah,
it'd be nuts.
It'd be nuts, but we'd have to get it.
Of course, even if we have to pay for it like in installments or something, it just Well,
I'm thinking with this year off that we've got from Doctor Who as well, I wouldn't be surprised. Although, no, actually, probably not. And the reason I say that is because of something we've got coming up in the news, so I'll say no more. But I was thinking this year they might do some box sets. I had a feeling they might do a new series 1 to 9 box set or something like that, but maybe not, considering recent events. But I shall say no more until we move into the news.
Yes. So that's me, mate. I haven't really done much. The DVDs I did pick up was 2 box sets, the Revisitations 3.
Which stories are in that?
The Tomb of the Cybermen.
Oh, brilliant.
The 3 Doctors and the Robots of Death.
Wow, that's a great set.
Great box set, that one.
Very good, yeah.
The Black Guardian trilogy. Peter Davison.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
So I've seen a few of these already online, but from what I felt, the Black Guardian one was, I'm not sure if we're going to review any of those. Well, we probably will do in the future.
I do want to, yeah.
But yeah, got some interesting thoughts on that. Yeah,
I was going to say, I'm sorry, I laughed then because my brain, I was just suddenly picturing you in cosplay as, I've forgotten the character's name, from
I think
from the Black Guardian trilogy with that bird on his head. He is the Black Guardian.
Yeah.
But no, I was thinking of actually the other guy who's got like this sort of spaghetti thing on his head as well. Some great cosplay in that trilogy. But I'd like to review those at some point as well because they're an interesting set of 3 stories, aren't they?
Yeah. And then individually, the Twin Dilemma.
Oh right, yeah.
The Aztecs and potentially one of the best classic Who's ever, Frontios. I'm joking. No, so I got individual. I got a couple more coming Saturday. I think I've got a couple McCoy and another partner one, I think.
Yeah, we'll have to review Frontiers then. Sounds like you've got some views on it.
Yes, I imagine however long this podcast lasts. Yeah,
I'm doing an impression of a what are they called, those things with the small hands that are in it?
The small hand creatures.
Yeah. Doing an impression of those. Another thing to say for Periscope. Yeah.
However long this podcast lasts, we may end up reviewing every classic story at some point, but we will do the Black Guardian stuff for sure.
Cool. I'm sorry, I'm doing terrible. We're always bad with names, but I'm particularly bad this morning. I think my name's not gear because I can't think of the name of those things in Frontiers, simply because I've got the word pterodactyl stuck in my head and nothing else will enter it for some reason.
The Plague.
The Plague!
Oh, I miss that guy. I might have to watch that again at some point. I miss that guy.
Plague.
Plague. Everything's about the Plague.
Yeah, we've been for a while.
Yeah, Frontios Day, that might be an interesting... Well, I definitely want to do it, actually, because it's got an interesting story, should we say.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. It's one of the... It's a 2-parter, isn't it? Or was it 3? It's quite a short one, isn't it?
It's a 4-part.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. See, I haven't watched it for ages either.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get onto that one at some point.
Yeah, so that's me, mate.
Excellent. Well, at least you got some good purchases there, some good stuff. Twin Dilemma as well. That is another one I am dying to review. We have got it on the schedule, haven't we? Can't
yes.
remember when.
We have got it.
But it's on there, yeah.
I think it's next month at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's definitely on there because that's one I've been wanting to do for a while. Yeah.
So that's our adventures in Doctor Who for the past week. Shall we land it and do the news, buddy?
Yeah, let's get into the news.
Sad news to kick off with. No one's dead. It's all good. However, the online BBC shop is soon to be deceased. And it's just really sad that they decided to close down. So the reason behind it is they just can't afford to do it anymore, in a nutshell. What they're saying is, because one of the questions on the FAQ page is, what about DVDs and Blu-rays and all the Doctor Who or branded merchandise and that sort of thing? And they're saying that the DVD market has been in decline for a number of years as consumers move to digital viewing. The market no longer supports the commercial release of many of the titles we're able to make available. So, yeah, what they're saying is they're just not selling, hardly any DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that because people are supposedly moving over to streaming and digital purchases and stuff like that. So it is a little bit of a push to get people over to the new BBC store, which is like their online digital equivalent, if you like, for all of their films and DVDs and whatnot.
Yeah.
So there's that, which is okay, but you will totally agree with me on this one. For me, I still like to have the actual DVD, not for everything, but for Doctor Who DVDs and stuff like that. I really like having the physical disc because the artwork is really good on a lot of DVDs. You also get all the special features, which you don't get from the BBC store.
Oh, right. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so when you purchase something through those guys, even though the price is quite reasonable, well, some of them anyway, it's like £1 or £2 cheaper, you don't get all those nice special features. You don't get like a second disc, quote unquote, with all that stuff. So it's a bit gutting. But like I said earlier, it does make perfect sense from a logistical, financial point of view, because one thing to actually to make this perfectly clear, they're not stopping the production of any DVDs or Blu-rays, anything like that. All they're doing is they're just saying, well, you won't be able to purchase it from us, but you will be able to purchase it from like the normal online retailers like Amazon and Zavvi and the Hut Group and all those sorts of people. So that's okay. They're not saying that, especially the classic DVDs, they're not going to go out of print. They're not, as it were, they're not they're not going to stop the production of those things. I imagine it will slow down a little bit. But
have they actually said that though? Because I know there was a discussion on that merch page about that, because that's one thing I was worried about. They were saying, that some of the earlier titles, it's very unlikely that they'll bother to reprint them. So they're probably still floating around out there, but they are saying there are some titles that might become hard to get. But I would assume they will. The majority of them they'll keep, like you said, keep issuing because they'll sell them through other outlets, won't they? I would assume. Yeah.
So one of the other questions there will BBC Worldwide continue to publish DVDs and Blu-rays? And they said yes, we'll continue to make popular programs available on DVD and Blu-ray. So Doctor Who does fall into that popular program category. They just said the cost of releasing programs can be significant, and we have to carefully balance decisions about which programs to release against factors such as the number of people who are interested in owning them. So this is pretty good news for Doctor Who fans, because the people are always buying DVDs and Blu-rays of Doctor Who, so that's not a bad thing. And I've had conversations with various people over Twitter over the last few days about, buying this classic DVD and let's see your collection. Matt Rowney from Who Addicts, I was talking to him. He's got a decent start to his collection, and now he's like saying like, oh, I can't go in HMV without buying a stack of classic DVDs and all that stuff. So I think the demand is very much there still, and I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. So I don't think anyone should worry too much. There might be the odd title that might be a bit more tricky to find in the near future, but overall, I think it's okay. We can still buy them from Amazon and all those people. It's just the BBC store themselves. They've decided to close shop. Like I said, it makes sense because now they don't have to worry about shipping costs, warehousing costs, sorting out returns and all that jazz. They can just handle all of that stuff. They can hand it all over to the other retailers. All they have to do is just supply the stuff.
Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, I'm like you. I'll always go for a physical format over a download, and it's the same with Big Finish because I've got the feeling over the last couple of years that Big Finish are very much trying to push people towards the download rather than physical format. They've reduced their booklets to like a really flimsy 2 pages where they used to be nice and have little details in. And, and I'm sorry, but I will always, while there is a physical format, I will always go for it, even if it's a couple of pound more expensive or whatever, because I like to have something, and like you said, the artwork and stuff. So it is a shame. I totally get the reason for it. I was taken by surprise by this. The only thing is, when they did that 25% off last week and the week before,
yes,
that did ring alarm bells with me, because that I was thinking, God, they are practically giving stuff away. I thought maybe they're having a good old clear out. But that I did actually think at the time, this is to do it 1 week, fair enough, but they did it 2 weeks running.
Yeah.
And I thought they are trying to shift some stock, and that did make me think, are they in trouble? So I was surprised still, but yeah.
Yeah, what made me think that there was something going on is when they reduced the Tennant Years DVD box set massively, because they must have just had loads of them lying around, and they slashed it from 100 quid down to, was it 30 quid or 40?
25. 25 pounds.
So when I saw that, I was like, that's not an ordinary, let's just knock a few quid off. That's a massive cut there. So, but yeah, so BBC Shop will soon be no more. You have up until the 29th of March to still order stuff. So, and they have got some good deals on there. If you go onto the homepage, it says like up to 85% off shop now, and it's got its own Doctor Who category, and they've got loads of stuff on there for a few quid. I'm actually really, really gutted that I didn't see this page earlier, because on Twitter yesterday there was an online company called Rhubarb, which I'd never heard before, and they put this pic on there of this really cool Doctor Who mug. It's a new one from the BBC. It's like a black matte finish with the classic logo going around the mug, and it's like, wow, that looks awesome. So I immediately jumped on there and bought it. It was like 13 quid. And then I went onto this. I went onto the BBC shop page late last night, and it was on there for like £3.20.
Oh no!
And I thought, there's nothing I can do. It's already been shipped, because they must have been onto it as well, because they shipped it within like, I got an email to say your payment's gone through, and then literally 20 minutes later, like, we've shipped it. And I was like, brilliant.
Yeah, I know that is so frustrating when that happens. I know that a lot of the stuff on the BBC shop is selling out really quick though, Gary. I mean, it is literally like they were selling some of the classic DVDs, Doctor Who DVDs, for like £3.70 or something. Really, really low prices. And from what I hear, I haven't been on there today, but from what I hear, they've got hardly any classic Doctor Who's left on the store. Because I mean, that's not to say they won't get more in, because they're probably going to be adding stuff and discounting stuff all the time up until they close. But they're selling out of a lot of stuff really quick, because it is being sold for really, really cheap prices. So, yeah, listeners, get on there and have a look. They've got some bargains at the minute. Yeah. Okay, in other news, Peter Capaldi. We've been talking about whether he's, might stay on when Chibnall takes over, and he's finally been discussing it, actually, because I haven't seen him because I haven't been at home much this week, but apparently he's been on the TV quite a bit, promoting Series 9 being released on Blu-ray and DVD.
Yep. So
he's been on quite a few television shows and radios and things like that, and obviously they've all asked him that question because everybody wants to know. And the good thing is, he's actually said he has been asked to stay on. So he's sort of almost confirmed that, hasn't he? He has been asked to stay on when Chris Chibnall takes over, but he hasn't decided yet, basically, because he says, quite rightly, it's so far in the future that he doesn't want to make that decision until He has to. So you can kind of understand that. So I guess he's going to see how Series 10 goes and then go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if he's going to do a David Tennant or not, because on the special features for the Series 4 specials, there's an interview with David Tennant, and exactly the same thing happened to him when he knew that Russell T Davies and Julie Gardner and so on were going. Stephen Moffat, I'm not sure if it's Stephen Moffat or somebody else at BBC, said to him, "We'd like you to stay on."
Yeah.
And he was really umming and ahhing for so long about it. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know, it'd be great to work with Stephen Moffat. He's such a good writer," and so on. But he ultimately made the decision that, new showrunner, some other new people starting, it's time to have a completely clean, break and stuff.
Start, yeah.
I'm wondering if Capaldi is going to be thinking along these same lines, whether it's like, my thing has been the whole Moffat thing, and but I'm not sure. A part of me thinks that he will stay on.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, because he's wanted to do this role for so long. And he doesn't say, I mean, if you read some of the things, because he does say that he hasn't made his mind up. He's very much in the air about it.
Yeah.
He says that Chris Chibnall's fantastic and he's a wonderful choice. But the important thing is, and he does mention it as well, that it's quite far away in the future. We have to remember that he has to do a Christmas special and Series 10 before Chibnall takes over and they go into Series 11. So it is quite far away. And he does say that Doctor Who is a very difficult thing to say goodbye to. So he doesn't want to rush into the decision. But yeah.
He clearly loves being the Doctor as well, doesn't he? I mean, he says it, and you know it as well. He just loves being the Doctor. So you can imagine him being in quite a big turmoil of giving that role up. Like you said, it's something he's always wanted to play. So
yeah,
I guess if he feels the time is right, he'll go. But I think he would like to stay around for for quite some time, from what he's saying. Talking to Capaldi, he did that signing in HMV on Monday.
Yes.
And I don't know if you saw the pictures.
I did.
Of everybody, because he made sure that this is what I love about Capaldi. Like, we were saying about events that we'd been to where, you just shove through like cattle and you can't get a picture. We haven't got time for that. Capaldi stayed right to the end, much later than he should have, apparently, to make sure that every single person that had a wristband got a signed DVD or whatever, and got a photo. So everybody I know on Twitter, there's pictures of him with all the fans, which I just think is just incredible for him to do that, to make sure.
Yeah.
He's just so brilliant with the fans.
He stopped to take selfies out the front as well, didn't he, when he was on his way in?
Did he?
Yeah, there's quite a few pictures on Twitter of people outside where they got like these railings and stuff. And as he got dropped off and he's walking in with like a couple of security people, he just stopped, took people's phones, selfies. It was all good.
I love it. I just love it. I think because he's a fan himself, he's just so good with the fans. So, yeah. And I think he might be, because we would like him to stick around to see what he's like under a different writer, different showrunner. Yeah. And I wonder if he feels a little bit the same. I know he really likes Stephen Moffat. He's always praising him. But I wonder if part of him thinks, it might be interesting to see what it's like, stay on for another year. So I hope so. I'd like to see him stay another year.
At least. I'm still
unsure?
into my idea of having him on in Series 11, but just for a few episodes.
A bit, yeah.
That really intrigues me, that idea of like that transition mid-series.
Yeah, would be interesting. Yeah. He did also briefly mention in one of the interviews about the new companion as well.
Yeah.
And obviously he's been, because this is probably will be announced soon, because they start filming soon, don't they?
Yes.
So I assume they're going to announce a new companion fairly soon. Basically, he says it's going to be a whole new dynamic, as you'd expect. It's going to be very different. It's going to be a totally different character. So he's used the word different about 3 times in his sentence, because I'm quoting from what he actually said to Steve Wright on the radio. So can we expect Chameleon back, or a robot, or what could different mean? Adric goes back in time and saves Adric.
Probably not.
Who could it be? No, I think it's going to be. I wouldn't mind seeing another sort of boy-girl, bit like sort of Amy and Rory, perhaps, or even better, Ian and Barbara. I wouldn't mind seeing his Doctor travelling around with that, a boy-girl companion.
Yeah, that could be good. Yep, or it could be. Could be a later version of K9.
K9. Hang on, they are doing that movie, aren't they? Perhaps it's
are.
all been planned.
This is all linked. Yep.
Not that terrible new version, though. We want the classic. I don't want that new thing that looks like a cat
Terminator.
crossed with a dog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't want that thing.
Yeah.
Want the classic K9. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
But,
Lastly, just to mention on this story, he's also confirmed that, not confirmed actually, but he might make an appearance in the new spin-off Class.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because that's going to start filming next month.
Ah.
Yeah, I mean, this is according to the Radio Times.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think it probably needs him
Yes.
to bring people in for that first episode or something, just to, I think it would be good if he's in it.
Yeah.
Ian Chesterton would be very good. I'd love to see Ian Chesterton back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Be awesome.
It would.
The possibilities are endless.
We can but dream.
Such is why Doctor Who is so great. So Capaldi might see him back after Series 10. Might not. Just depends on how he's feeling, I guess.
So
But
how
it is
does
good
that-
that they've asked him, though.
It is good they've asked him. I was just thinking, how does that work, though? So they're filming this year for the series that's going out next year.
Yeah.
So then, do they film? So whilst that series is going out next year, are they then filming for the following year? Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
I guess so. And
Yeah.
we don't know. The Christmas special, is that on the cards for this year? That is, isn't it? That has been confirmed.
It was confirmed, but there is again confusion about it, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think hasn't there been a bit of a falling out
A falling
between
out.
producers? I don't know. I think something's gone a bit awry, but I don't know what. But
Yeah.
as far as I know, it's still on the cards. Yeah.
Right. So based on that then, after Series 10 goes out next year, we could be in the same format where they do another Christmas special next year, and then Series 11 kicks off in 2018. I don't know.
That's it. That's what I think we're going to get. Yeah.
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 Fun
So, good stuff.
times, interesting times ahead.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's going to wrap for news.
Okay.
Let's get those pesky Daleks in and see what merch we got this week.
Oh, yeah.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
So we've got a book on the way from a previous companion.
Yeah.
So Yi Ji So, who was the... can we call him a companion? I guess we can.
Yes, I'm calling him. I think so.
Yes, so previous companion, Yi Ji So, who was companion to the Eighth Doctor, Mr. McGann. Looks to bring out a very cool book, actually, entitled Time and Spaces, a photojournal of Doctor Who filming.
I'm really buzzing about this.
It looks
That's why I
great.
did that little hey when you announced it. When I heard about this, I was just like, yes, because I love locations. I don't know if I mentioned it. And this
do
just
you?
sounds brilliant. And I love the look of it. I love the sound of it. I'm really looking forward to this coming out. Yeah.
Yes. So Yi Ji So took a load of photos while he was acting in this. So behind the scenes, he took his own stuff. And there's also loads of photos that they've dug out of the archives as well. So what they're going to do is... it's 20 years later, is it?
Oh, don't.
That makes me feel really old.
Oh,
So 20 years after they filmed this one, they're going to go back and they're going to do some behind-the-scenes stuff, take you to all the locations. They're going to use his own photos. They're going to use official photos from the archive. So it's just going to be... so apparently this is described as a love letter to the Doctor Who TV movie. It's presented in full colour. It's one of those nice square-shaped deluxe paperback featuring loads of photographs that you've not seen before. And I know you will get this,
I will. Yeah.
and I'm going to get this as well. It looks really, really good because we're fans of the TV movie.
I love it.
We
yeah,
love
we
that,
don't
so-
get much stuff to do with it either, do we? So this really appeals to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's some cool buzz about the TV movie. This month's Doctor Who magazine has got a massive article about the TV movie. In fact, most of the magazine is about it, which is great. And now we've got this book coming up from Yi Ji So. That's all about the TV movie as well. So it's really good times for to getting into all that stuff and the behind the scenes and whatnot. Yes, it's good. Pre-order price at the moment is $14.99, which is a good price for one of these nice big square paperback books. I think it's like a similar size and stuff. Do you know that book that was out recently, the Worlds of Doctor Who?
Oh, that one, yeah.
It's that kind of size, I think. So they're really nice, and it's going to be like full color glossy. So yeah, looks good.
I believe, or I think all the pre-orders come signed as well. I think if you get in before before the a certain date, you can get one signed. And I've ordered a few things from Milk, and they normally put in all these little treats when you open the book. Sort of a few little bits normally fall out, like stickers, and but they're good. They're not like just random advertising. Like, for example, the Andrew Cartmel book had a little Happiness Patrol sticker and a copy of a BBC letter, and they normally put in little extra bits. So yeah, because I'm torn, because I'd like to get it from them, but he's also appearing at the Capital event, which we're hoping to go to, and he'll be signing it there.
Yes.
And I don't know which to do, but either way, I'll be getting it.
Yes, looks very good.
Does look good. Okay, there is another book coming out. In fact, it's already out. It's just come out.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's called Saturday Night Monsters, and it's a 100% totally unofficial Doctor Who fanology. It's called
Fanthology.
Fanthology, yeah.
Yes.
Fanthology.
Yep.
Basically, yeah, it's a collection of fan writings about Doctor Who, taken from popular blogs, fanzines, This Way Up and Phase, and it explores the world of TV series Doctor Who by the fans. And it goes through all sorts, actually, talking about the Philip Hinchcliffe era, the Wiped episodes, all sorts of things. And it's got a really cool retro cover. Looks like one of those old sort of classic
old B-movie horror,
yeah, I really like, actually, because it doesn't look Doctor Who at all. When I very first saw this, you wouldn't look at it and think Doctor Who. It looks like a real cool old B-movie sci-fi film. So I love the cover, and yeah, it sounds really good. It's just basically fans talking about different eras of the show and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it looks good. The reason why we stuck this one on here, because it's just an interesting, I think it'll be an interesting read, a different point of view, because we've mentioned a few books and they're all from like official authors or people involved in the show, but this is just, like you say, written from a fan's point of view, and it does go through a lot, like you said, the Robert Holmes stuff. It's got reviews on some of the classic stuff, so it'd be good to compare what fans think compared to how we reviewed stories as well, so that'll be an interesting read.
Yeah, and it goes right up to the new era as well, doesn't it? So it goes right up to sort of Human Nature, Amy's Choice, all that stuff. Yeah,
it's good, and it's quite cheap as well. It's £8 from Amazon. So we'll stick a link to that one as well. Looks good.
Yeah, it's good. Worth it for the cover alone. I love that cover. I'd like a poster of that. It looks really good.
Yeah. Last up for merch. This is a Big Finish piece of news. This one made me jump up and do like what they called star jumps, somersaults, everything. Yeah. So you know that I love vinyl.
Yes, you do.
I love some vinyl, and Doctor Who have announced, Big Finish have announced that 2 classic stories are going to be re-released in the vinyl format, and they are The Chimes of Midnight and Spare Parts.
2 absolute gems.
Yes. So these are 2 of my favourite Big Finish stories, and they happen to also be the 2 Big Finish stories that the first ones that I picked up ever.
Oh, are they? Oh, right.
So these are like my introduction into Big Finish, these 2 stories, and I absolutely love them. And they're always reviewed quite highly. They're very popular. And there's new cover artwork as well. We haven't seen it yet for Spare Parts, but The Chimes of Midnight has got a new cover. And I think it will look beautiful in that large vinyl size, like the LP
really
size.
Nice. Yeah.
The cover artist is Tom Webster. He's a really funky guy, actually. He's appeared on a couple of YouTube videos to do with Doctor Who and stuff, but the covers that he does for Big Finish are just amazing, and this one looks really good. So they are a little bit pricey.
Yeah,
they are a wee bit pricey. I think they're $79.99 a piece. So they're a little bit on the pricey side, but they are a limited run. I think it's 500 a piece.
Yeah.
So it's a limited run, and these will, I'm pretty confident these will go, because They just look so awesome, and it must be so great as well to listen to Big Finish on vinyl. Just such a good experience.
I'm really, really torn because I love the look of these, and like you, I love my vinyl. The cover artwork's brilliant. The stories are brilliant. I mean, Spare Parts is always highly talked about, but Chimes of Midnight is probably one of the best.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant story. The price does slightly put me off. I think 80 quid for, I assume it's two vinyls you're getting there. Is it two records?
It is two, yeah.
I think that's a bit steep. I'm going to just be honest. I think Big Finish are being a bit steep there. I know it's limited at 500 copies. And the reason I say that is because like you, I did a somersault and fell on my belly because I'm not very good at them. When I read this news, I was like, wow, brilliant, getting that. And then I saw the price and my face just dropped. I think that they're a bit expensive, but I would love to get them. But I don't think I can fork out 80 quid on an LP. I don't know. As much as as much as I'd love to, I think if they'd have gone even 50, I might have. But 80 quid? Are you going to get them?
I'm definitely getting the Chimes of Midnight.
You are? Okay.
I'm absolutely getting that one. I'm exactly the same. It was the price. It is a little bit. If they were 50 quid,
yeah,
I probably would have just pre-ordered both of them. If they were 50 quid each, like as a maximum. So I think because of the price, I'm probably just going to pre-order one of them. And between the two, it has to be the Chimes of Midnight.
Yeah, I would agree. Although when we see the artwork for Spare Parts, you might be swayed, but I would be the same at the minute.
Yeah.
You know what it is I don't like about it? Because there are some things where you think, okay, like Rubber Toe, their products are expensive, but a lot of work goes into them, and to an extent they kind of justify the price. Now these are going to be gorgeous, and they're going to be something you want to own, and they are going to be really, really nice, but does the cost price mount up to 80 quid? I don't think it does. So to me, it feels a little bit like Big Finish are, I'm not going to say ripping the fans off, but it feels a little bit like, a lot of Doctor Who stuff at the minute is becoming very expensive.
Yeah.
And I just don't like this feeling of taking the mickey out of us fans, thinking, well, it's only limited to 500. If you want it, you're going to have to pay it. And that's what kind of niggles me a little bit. Because if I thought, well, yeah, they've got to cover their costs and blah, 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 80 quid, fine. And I'm willing to be corrected on this. I look at it and think, lovely product, very limited, would like to have it, 80 quid. So, I don't know. I'm very torn with this one.
Do you know what, mate? I completely agree. And I feel the same. I really do feel the same. But for some reason, the thought of having the Chimes of Midnight as a nice big vinyl thing has just, has just knocked the common sense out of me, basically. And I've bitten to their bait that they've dangled in front of me.
Yeah.
And I don't usually do that. I'm usually fairly good with that stuff. If it's like, I can see that it's overpriced on some things, and I'm just not going to part with the money. But for this, I don't know what it is about it. It's just something that I've like, yeah, it's overpriced. I think we can agree. But for this particular piece, I just don't care. I'm just happy to have it. So, there's actually another piece of Doctor Who news concerning vinyl, which is very, very good.
Oh, yes.
Which might replace this purchase. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
So Record Store Day. Do you know about this?
I do. Yeah, I've been to a few.
Yeah. So Record Store Day. So people who don't know, because vinyl was made a progressive comeback over the years, in an attempt for record shops to kind of really get people back into the format and all that stuff. In April every year, they hold this global thing called Record Store Day. I think it's the same date in the US as well, where essentially every participating record shop anyway just does this crazy, like massive, like just crazy deal on loads of vinyl, and there's like special editions all over the place and all that stuff. This year, there's going to be a reprint of Genesis of the Daleks, the audio story, on vinyl in a special edition yellow vinyl record.
Hang on, wait, is it because there's Genesis Daleks and the Dalek movies, and the Dalek movies is yellow vinyl as well.
Yeah. So this is the same thing. It's going to be on the cool yellow vinyl.
Yeah.
Now, this one might be a bit of more of a sensible purchase because it's only 20 quid.
Yeah. See, I would get that. I would if I could get my hands on one, because this is the only problem. They are very limited, and normally when you get to the record stores, they're queued around the block because it's a 1 day, and it's a big thing. Everybody who's into vinyl knows about it. So it's very often hard to actually get these unless you're there queuing from like early in the morning. But I tell you what, that's more like it in terms of pricing. If I could get my hands on one, it'd be in the bag.
Yeah, if I could get one, that would cancel out my Big Finish ones because the price is a lot more reasonable. I think it's just over 20 quid. I think it's like 23, 24
but that's
quid or
more
something.
like it. Yeah.
So I don't know. If I can get to a record shop and manage to find one, I'll absolutely get it because it's the audio. It's like the audio story, and I think it's got like some narration from Tom Baker as well. Tom Baker.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be so good. And you'll have to excuse me, I've got my facts wrong there. The Genesis of the Daleks one doesn't have the yellow records. That's the Peter Cushing
the movies.
Yeah. But this one just standard vinyl. But just vinyl's just so good. I love vinyl. It's such a good format. So we can talk about this all day, but
let's check out where our nearest record store is and let's get down there because I'd love us to get hold of those.
Yeah, when's you probably know this more now. When is record store day? It's like some weekend, every weekend, a certain one.
I don't know actually.
I think it's the third. I think it's the third weekend or the third Saturday every April.
Right.
I think it's that one, the third one. So next month we'll find one and get down there.
Get down there. Yeah.
So
Brilliant.
before we just ruin the podcast with talking about vinyl, let's wrap up merch and let's get into our review. Adam,
oh yes,
my good mates, what are we going to do this week?
Gary, start the clock. We're reviewing Mummy on the Orient Express.
There were many trains to take the name Orient Express, but only one in space.
Good morning, everyone. Your goal is to ascertain the foretold's true nature.
I know exactly what this sounds like.
Isn't this exciting?
It's immortal, unstoppable, unkillable.
Can we get a new expert?
Those that bear the foretold stare have 66 seconds to live.
Start the clock.
Start the clock.
Start the clock. Yeah.
So you've wanted to do this one for a while, mate.
Yes, I have, because it was during the transition period of me joining the podcast when we were doing Series 8 reviews, and this kind of got missed out. It's one of a couple that we didn't do. In fact, you haven't reviewed it either. So, yes, I have wanted to do it. And also in my mind, it's stuck in my head as being one of the episodes that I really, really liked.
You fell in love with this one, didn't you?
I really did like it. So I was looking forward to reviewing it, and I was looking forward to watching it again because I haven't watched it for a while. And we'll see if my thoughts are the same. And obviously, I don't know what your thoughts on it are. So
we haven't ever spoken about this one, actually.
We haven't, no.
Yeah, so just last in October 2014, this was first broadcast.
Gosh.
That seems like a long time now.
That does.
But it only feels like like when we originally watched this series. It doesn't feel that long ago, but there we go. Yes, so Jamie Matheson, writing duties on this one.
Whatever happened to him?
What happened? Yes, 45 minutes, the standard time for these episodes. And yes, it's the plot is the Doctor and Clara arrive on the Orient Express, but not as we know it. It's like the futuristic one that travels through space. Mm-hmm. But there are people on the train who are getting picked off by this mysterious mummy. And it transpires that all the people on this train have been put there purposely by this AI computer named Gus. Mm-hmm. Is it Gus? Yeah.
Gus.
And it turns out that all these brainy scientific people aren't that brainy, and it's down to the Doctor to solve it. And there's also a little bit of a Clara issue thing going on as well.
Yeah.
In the background. So yeah, pretty good story. And I think we know your feelings on it already, mate. You really like this one, right?
I do really like it, yes. I loved it when it first aired. I thought it was a great concept. But I watched it again yesterday, and I still really enjoyed it. I still really enjoyed it. But do you know what? It wasn't quite as good as I remembered. Yeah, there are a couple of things I made notes on, but I still really like it. I still think it's a good episode, a very good episode. But yeah, it wasn't quite the 45-minute brilliant spectacular that I had in my head, which I remember at the time, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, there were a few little issues with it, I found. But yeah, overall, I do think this is a very good story.
Interesting. I thought you were going to go for, it's like the best thing in Modern Who, and
well, no, I think in my head I was thinking this, and I remember another story from Series A, which I'm not going to name because we'll probably review it. I don't want to ruin it. There were two stories that really stuck in my mind as being great in Series A that I really, really enjoyed.
Right.
This was one of them, and I did really enjoy it again yesterday. But there were a few little niggles with it as well, which we'll talk through. But yeah, I still think it's good. So what did you think? I mean, from when you first watched it and rewatching it again?
So I remember when I first watched this one, I thought at the time it was very, very good. Mm-hmm. I think like you, there's a couple of little things with it that put me off a little bit. And then when I rewatched it, I only watched it this morning.
Oh, okay.
I rewatched it first thing this morning when I woke up, and I still think it's good.
Yeah,
I still think it's a very good story. But these little things that niggled me back when, because I think when I watched it back then, I recorded it on Sky when it went out. So I think I watched it a couple of times before I deleted it off the Sky box. And rewatching it again, obviously, a year or so later, because I've not watched it since then. Those little things that niggled me have not gone away, unsurprisingly. So I think it's a good story, and I think it's a good script and whatnot and sort of thing. But there are a couple of things that stick in my mind and think, I wish that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Or I wish that wasn't written, I wish it wasn't written that way, because it could have been like a phenomenal episode. It could have been, one of the best. But
I think that's one of the things that struck me yesterday, actually, as I kept thinking this has the potential to be an absolute classic.
Yeah.
And it just slightly misses that, actually, because of a few little bits. I know one of the things that annoyed people at the time when it first aired was the fact that at the end of Kill the Moon, Clara had a hissy fit and was off, and it was all over. Mm-hmm. She wasn't travelling with the Doctor anymore, and we were kind of like, that was how it was ended, and we were kind of like, what's going to happen next week? And then it just starts with them back being BFFs, and it's one last hurrah, and I'm not angry with you anymore, and it kind of felt like almost like an episode was missing. Like, hang on, how have you gone from swearing in Doctor Who and storming out the TARDIS to being, let's go and have a little last hurrah together. And so that, I think that niggled people at the time, and it certainly niggled me at the time.
Yeah,
felt like we'd missed something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll come on to Clara actually in a little while, because that was my major niggle.
Yeah,
with it, we'll come on to a bit more detail about Clara, but like story wise, like the overall story and the script and how it was written, and some direction and pacing and stuff. Overall, I thought it looked great.
It does, apart from the CGI.
Apart from the train, yeah. Visually, it looks great. Like because the sets themselves were quite small, as you'd expect being on a train.
They feel it, don't they?
And
yeah.
It feels quite claustrophobic and stuff. But the lighting was great. Like, when they first walk into the train, it's got that kind of old schooly feel to it, but still looks quite clean. And then later on in the episode, when like the holographic stuff sort of gets taken away, and they're in that very clinical looking sort of science lab, that looks really, really good as well. Like they've got the old very retro looking 1950s thing down, but they've also got the real cool looking scientific futuristic stuff looking really good.
Yeah.
And also the mummy effects, the costume was superb.
Excellent. Yeah, it's really good.
There was no CG involved. There was no sort of strange, weird actors who were like 8 feet tall, to play it. Because although it sounds quite simple, you just wrap in somebody in bandages and stuff, it can be easy to screw up.
Well, it looks slightly better than the Tractators from Frontiers, which is what I was trying to remember earlier.
Oh, the Tractor.
Yeah.
You found
sorry,
it, yeah.
It's only just come to me all this time later. Yeah, so no, the Mummy, I think, looks great. And it works really, really well. The guy in it just sticking his hand forward. And the thing I love about this story is the concept. This whole thing of start the clock, 66 seconds of this thing coming towards you. And I like the fact that only the person who's about to die can see it. So you kind of look, the person who's about to die looks like some kind of nutcase that's going, get it off me, get it off, and it's like, I just love that whole concept. It's quite a creepy idea. And it's interesting that the woman at the start drove me mad when I first watched this, trying to remember where I'd seen her before. The first lady to get knocked off. She was in The Curse of Fenric. Her name in this is Miss Pitt.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember her name in Curse of Fenric, but yeah. So she's the first one to get killed by the
Janet Henfrey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's nice. But not nice that she gets killed, but nice to have her back in the show. Looking the same as well, all these years later.
Yeah.
Looking the same. So yeah, it's a great concept. Really, really like all that. And love the Mummy. Like you said, the sets look great. And it's visually very nice. One thing that's always bugged me, and perhaps you can answer this, because I did notice a throwaway line yesterday which maybe explain it. One thing that's always driven me mad is that we get all these terrible CGI shots of the train swishing through space.
Yeah.
But then when we're inside, there's no motion at all. And the thing is, I actually don't like this modern way of filming where we've got handheld cameras all the time moving around. A lot of shows use that because I find that really irritating.
Right.
But in this, I think it actually would have added a bit more, because there's no sense when they're in the train, there's no sense of any motion at all, because there's nothing going past the windows because they're in space. There's no movement. It's very flat. And it really bugs me, because it's like, I don't feel, you get scenes of the train swishing around and then it cuts to inside and it's deadly still. And I just feel like, yeah. But there is something about a decompression chamber being turned off towards the end. So maybe that's why. I don't know.
Of all the things to
I just find
niggle you, the motion on the train doesn't emulate a realistic
Well, it doesn't give me any
train.
feeling. It almost feels like, I feel like I'm watching a sort of play. It doesn't get, there's no, I don't know, maybe it's, that's what I'm saying, maybe it's the direction. I don't know. There's no sense of sort of anything on the train.
I would probably say that there's some kind of futuristic inertial damper or inertial buffer, so that it's a completely smooth journey.
Smooth, right. I think there is, as I say, I think there is something about decompression mentioned towards the end, because you see those chefs, don't you, floating outside at the end, and it's all kind of going crazy. And then, so maybe there is a reason behind it, but I don't know, it just didn't match up to me. That stupid train going swishing around, and then they just stood there chatting away. I don't know.
This reminds me of a conversation from an episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that a lot of you like that show and some of you don't, but there's a really funny conversation where they're discussing Superman. And when Lois Lane is falling from a skyscraper, if Superman was travelling at the actual speed he was, then when his arms went out, Lois Lane would just be chopped into 3 equal parts because, the terminal velocity that she's travelling at versus Superman's, relevant speed. He can't match relevant speed while she's falling, and he just... Yeah. So I can't say I've ever thought about that while watching this story.
Right.
This doesn't niggle me or bug me. It's I just assumed... Well, actually, I never thought about it, but now you've mentioned it, I just assume that it's just a clever space travel thing where everything's just buffered and stuff, and it's very smooth, and it's not meant to be like an old-fashioned train.
Right, yeah.
But, let's get Jamie on the podcast and quiz him.
Well, let's get Paul Wimhurst, the director.
Or the director, yeah. Let's get both on and say, guys, what is going on?
Yeah.
But no, I haven't thought about it before.
Okay,
it
maybe
that
next
way.
time you watch it, you'll see. Yeah.
Maybe.
Even the little bit of motion would be good. It just feels to me like the cameraman's gone, right, set the tripod up here, go. There's just no motion.
And when I first watched this, and we saw that bit at the beginning with the old woman, and she's kicking off and nobody else can see, I thought at the very beginning, like, how are they going to explain this? How are they going to twist this one? Because initially I thought, is it going to be a clever device that the Doctor sort of constructs, like, you know, like a Ghostbusters kind of thing, where people can only see the mummy at certain times, and he constructs this device. And it turns out to be a bit more of an emotional impact, really, because the whole concept of this mummy isn't it like wasn't it originally a soldier?
Yeah.
And the reason
malfunctioning.
Yeah, and it's not until like the last second that the Doctor figures out why it's doing it, and it's a bit more of a touching scene, really, especially when the way the Doctor says, "You're relieved, soldier."
We surrender, isn't it?
Yeah, he surrenders and he says, "You're relieved," and then he just disappears into like a pile of ash and stuff. I didn't see that coming. Originally, when I first watched it and we see like the first bulk of the episode, I thought it would be a lot more of a typical, it really is an evil monster, you know, that's just out to kill people. So that's another clever little thing that I liked about it, where, you know, it was more of a malfunction thing, and, you know, it just needed something as simple as that, you know, to stop it. So
yeah, because it looks so terrifying. It's quite, like you said, you wouldn't see it coming. Do you know what I mean? It looks so horrific, the mummy. It's a good twist that it turns out to be.
Yeah,
something that just needs.
And a testament to the makeup and the actual look of this mummy, because it does look pretty scary. I remember when we went to the Symphonic Spectacular in Wembley. Was it last year? My dates are all over the place now because this is 2 years old.
It was last year.
I'm sure it was last year at Wembley Arena, and there was a bit where they were playing the soundtrack to this story, which we'll come on to in a second, the soundtrack. And they actually had a person in the mummy costume who looked identical to in the story. They did it really well.
Yeah.
And there was a young kid, I think he's only about 7 or 8 years old, a couple of rows behind me. He went completely ballistic. Like literally, he was scared so badly. He's like his mum, like she wrapped him up, and she like had his head like under her coat, and he was like shaking violently so much because he was crying and screaming so much. So it's testament to the makeup. It does look completely terrifying.
Yeah, they did a really good job on that. Yeah,
yeah.
I do like the look of it.
And so, makeup wise, visually wise, it looks stunning. And that the actual story plot as well, for the most part, was really good.
Yeah, I think so. I wasn't, the first time I watched it, I wasn't too sure why. You know, it took me 2 watches to actually get to the conclusion in terms of what happened, because I wasn't sure what the Doctor had managed to do at the end the first time. I was thinking, so why was the mummy killing people? It was a bit unclear. But yeah, the second time I watched it, it's all there. It is really well written in terms of that, yeah.
And did you like the little reference to the empty child?
Are you my mummy? I love that.
That's cool, isn't it?
I completely forgot that was in there. Yeah, I did a little... Yeah, that brought a real big smile to my face when I watched that again yesterday, because I'd forgotten he says that. That's a really nice throwback as well. And kind of, I suppose, an obvious one, that sort of thing you might be saying to the screen. But yeah, it's really, really nice little touch, that.
And we had the jelly babies in the cigarette case as well.
Again, really good. I love it. Because I remember when you first got the cigarette case out thinking, Doc, they wouldn't. Not even like on the, you know, I imagine you getting a cigar out.
Yeah.
And it suits Peter's Doctor so much that, you know, cigarette case with the jelly babies in. Yeah, really good little touch.
And they're really subtle, aren't they? They're not sort of in your face too much, but they really work.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I actually thought, you know, because Capaldi's Doctor is so unpredictable anyway, especially in Series 8. You don't know what he's going to do. So it wouldn't have surprised me if he'd got a cigar out. But it's a really nice touch, that, having the jelly babies in it. Yeah. It's not the only Fourth Doctor reference we get, is it? Because he does a really good impression of the Fourth Doctor when he's talking to himself in the carriage, which is another brilliant scene.
Oh, it's great, that little scene. Yeah. When he's talking to himself, I smiled big time with that little scene. Those little Capaldi moments, are really what makes his Doctor really good.
He does a good impression of Tom as well, doesn't
He's
he?
actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. So I really like that. Supporting cast. Overall, I thought they were pretty good. I thought they played them very well. The only one that I wasn't, the captain was pretty good, Captain Quell.
Yes.
Played by David Bamber. He was pretty good. I thought he had this like the typical British thing going on again, like the army general vibe. I thought that was pretty good. The only supporting cast that I wasn't sort of too enamoured at was Maisie.
Maisie.
You know, the girl that Clara sort of gets stuck in the room with. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't a massive fan of her. I mean, I thought she was okay, but I just found her a bit flat. You know, though I didn't really see, like, because it wasn't her real mum that died in front of her at the beginning that we find out, isn't it? It's just this woman just told her to call her that. But even so, there's an emotional attachment there. Although she looked quite shocked, I didn't really see much sort of despair and, you know, at that sort of scene. And then later on, when she sees the mummy, I just didn't. For some reason, I just didn't see enough from her. I thought she was okay, but I found her quite flat.
Yeah, I know what you mean. She's not terrible, but she's quite cold. And I don't know if that was supposed to be intentional, like she's supposed to have had this sort of estranged relationship with that woman that's her mum or whatever. But yeah, she's okay. I don't think she's bad, but yeah, you don't really warm to her because I mean that's a great bit at the end where the Doctor's telling Clara, "Bring her here. I need her." You know, almost like in a scientific way. Like, I need her to die here, not there, you know, because I need to, you know, it'll be a waste. If she dies there, you know, I'm not going to learn anything. So, although you don't particularly warm towards the character, you still sort of think, oh, no, you can't let her die, you know.
That's a good point, actually. The Doctor doesn't really warm to these characters either. Because he's quite happy for them to bite the bullet for the sake of research.
Yeah, well, I think this is the thing. In Capaldi's first series, he's very much, he's quite cold, really. He very much is sort of looking at the bigger picture. If you think about the bit, like when he sort of sacrifices that guy into the Dalek, and he's like, he was going to die anyway. You know, we've got to think of what the bigger picture here. So his Doctor in his first series is very much like that, and especially in this episode.
Yeah.
His goal is to solve the puzzle and move on, and if it means, you know, and if someone's going to die anyway, then he may as well make the most of them dying. You know, it's a very cold attitude, but he's thinking, you know, that's his Doctor at this point, isn't it? He's just thinking of the bigger picture. And
we do get a bit of a reprise right at the very end, where they're on the beach and Clara says, he says to her that he managed to bring everybody to the next city and stuff like that, and she's like, "Oh, you saved everybody then." So he's not completely cold-hearted. But just those moments where, like you say, he's happy for them to go because they're gonna go anyway.
But do you know what I love about that? Because that is such a really gorgeous end scene. I love that bit on the beach at the end. But what I love about that is, did the Doctor save them all? Because this is what I love about his Doctor, especially in Series 8. He kind of says it in a way, in a sort of sarcastic way. You don't think I'd let them all die or something? He kind of says it in a way that could be taken either way. Like, I couldn't save them. You know, I'm not even convinced. You know, it could be very 50-50. He's saying he's dropped them off.
Yeah.
In that, you know, over there. But he could just be saying that to Clara because he knows she'll go mad if he says, I couldn't save them. I can only save us. So, but I really like that. You don't know with Capaldi's Doctor.
You don't know 100%.
If he was given the choice between them all dying and him saving him and Clara and that being it, he's going to save him and Clara, but he's not going to say to her, "Yeah, I could only save her, so I jumped ship."
Okay.
You know? So I like that. I mean, we assume he saved them all. It's
I think he did. Yeah, I think it's safe to say.
But there is that element to him that you watch that scene, he sort of goes, "Well, yeah, maybe I did." Yeah. You know, you just don't know with Capaldi's Doctor, and I love that.
Yeah. Okay, so the captain, he was pretty good. Maisie,
it's good casting.
Found a bit flat. Let's talk about Frank Skinner as Perkins.
Perkins.
I really did like this character. I remember when he was cast as this character. Or actually, we didn't know that he was going to play this character. We just knew that he was cast in Doctor Who. I was really chuffed for him.
Yeah.
Because he's such a massive fan. If anybody ever listens to his podcast, he does. It's basically just a repeat of the radio show. I think it's what radio station does he do it on? I can't remember. Absolute Radio.
Absolute. That's it, yeah.
And he always talks about Doctor Who, and his co-hosts know that he loves it and always bring it up. And I remember when he first got cast, he was over the moon, and I thought initially, I'm so happy for you, because it must be cool, a bit like Capaldi really, to be a lifelong fan and then to get cast in the programme that you love so much. But then I thought, is this going to be typical comic relief? Because he's a comedian by trade, are we just going to have almost a slapsticky, trying to be funny, light-hearted comic relief character that just doesn't work in Doctor Who sometimes?
Yeah.
Because we had that with Nick Frost in the Christmas special, where he was relatively funny, and I really like Nick Frost, but yeah. So I thought, is it going to be? He turned out to be really good. He didn't go with that stupid, any kind of over the top comedic stuff, which is not really Frank Skinner's style anyway. He's a bit more of a, he's down to earth a lot of times, and he's quite slow. And he did play that really well. And I really hope we see him again, because we came close. The Doctor offered him, didn't he? He did say, but he turned it down. But what did you think of his character? I loved his character.
Yeah, I like Frank Skinner a lot. I think that's the thing. We always assume as soon as a comedian's cast that they're going to be over the top and terrible. And actually, normally the opposite is the case, because comedians are quite often good actors, because they've got a range of emotions going on in their head anyway.
Catherine Tate.
Yep. Catherine Tate, yeah.
Yep.
And Ken Dodd. But I think Frank's great in it, and he's really likable. He's playing it straight down the line. He's not trying to be comedic in any way. I think it probably broke his heart a little bit when he read the script and the Doctor says, I could do with someone like you. Do you want to come with me? And I bet he read the next line and went, sort of probably got his pen out and changed the answer to yes, because I think he would have loved to have joined him. And in fact, I think on the it's not confidential anymore, is it? But the making of that they used to put out, that got cut down to about 2 minutes. I think he said, on the first take, he actually just said yes, just to, as a joke. And that, and they said, okay, right, we'll go again. And I was really hoping that would end up on the DVD, or that they would show the take on the making of, but they didn't. But apparently, he would have loved to have gone with the Doctor. But he's likable, and I like Frank. Yeah, I think he's really good in it. Yeah,
I like his character, because there's nice little scenes with the Doctor in this story. The first one that I really liked is when the Doctor's coming out of his room, and Perkins is already standing there with like some blueprints and stuff like that. And he's like, maybe I'm the mummy.
Yeah.
Or maybe I've just already started looking into it. And the Doctor has this little grin as if to say, okay, yeah, you got me. And then later on, he says, he reveals, doesn't he, like quite a big clue to the answer, an answer to the clue. And he's like, you're a genius. Blah, blah, blah. Those little scenes were really good. And all the time, Frank Skinner plays it with a straight face. He has like these little grins from time to time, but his fanboy self isn't coming out, and he's got this stupid grin. He actually plays it really well.
Yeah.
Perkins, really like that character.
I like it when he tells the Doctor off as well at the end, when someone's just died. I think it's Captain Quell, isn't it? And the Doctor's just moving on to the next bit, and Perkins is horrified. It's like, look, someone's just died here. Can we take a minute?
Can we take a moment? Yeah.
So no, I think Frank works really well in it. I like the little bits between him and the Doctor. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see him on Big Finish.
Yes, that'd be good.
Maybe we'll hear him on Big Finish, maybe.
Perkin Adventures, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it could be Perkins and
Clive. I did think of Clive when I was outside the Queen's Arcade the other day. I was thinking, Clive died in there. Or did he?
Do you know what? I'm not going to say any more. I've got to continue writing that story about Clive, and he is bound in my story to bump into Perkins.
Yeah, if I should, people out there, the Clive we're referring to, I'm sure you know, but just in case you don't, is Clive from Rose, the episode Rose, the one who gets obliterated by an Auton in the shopping arcade, because we love Clive.
Yeah, He's got
we love
so
Perkins.
much potential to be a great character. It winds anyway. Perkins, great character. Let's move on to Clara.
Yes.
Let's move on to Clara, because this was the biggest niggle for me, was Clara in this episode, because it unfortunately turns into one of those stories where it's just about a stroppy companion who doesn't seem to be liking what's going on at the moment, so they make a big song and dance and fuss about things. And instead of the writers or Jamie Matheson's, I can see why I'm going to put, the cards on the table here. I'm going to say that the whole thing about Clara was a Moffat thing.
Okay.
I think it was an overall arcing thing to run through the series that had to be in the story. I don't think that it's a specific thing that was relative to this or relevant to this story in itself. I think this was a Moffat thing to play on the whole chemistry and relationship between the Doctor and Clara. Because this story would have been absolutely fine and near perfect without Clara.
Yeah.
She didn't need to be in this at all. She has no value to the story. She's just a bit mopey, a little bit grumpy. And the way it's written, I'm sure it's Moffat. I'm certain of it. Because he panders to it. He's like, he's a little bit sort of put out that she's, that this is like the last Farrar and it's, the last adventure and that sort of thing. And for the most part, to be fair, the Doctor does get on with it. He doesn't really sort of play up to it too much. But just this whole thing about him, like Clara following him around and this mopey face, and it's all about Clara for this one. It's all about, how she feels and she doesn't like it anymore. And
yeah, she has to keep phoning Danny and checking it's all right.
It's just too high maintenance for me. It's like, I don't know if you've ever had any partners, girlfriends or boyfriends like this, but when they just ring you out the blue and nothing's really wrong, they just want a bit of attention, and you're like, oh, do we have to do this now? I'm busy. There's nothing wrong with you, really. It's just, sort yourself out, get on with it. I find Clara, that's the biggest thing that spoils the story for me, was that the Clara, I mean, we had this, like you said earlier, this thing in the previous episode, Kill the Moon, where she's like, I don't want to do this anymore, so see you later. And we could have done with 2 or 3 stories without her. But no, she has to come back. She has to bring the mood down of the story. And yeah, it really does spoil it for me. Because I think to myself, don't turn into a Rose, because some episodes with Rose and David Tennant's Doctor, she can be a bit like that.
Oh, yes.
Where it's all about Rose and it's all about how she's feeling. And, the universe can go to hell in a handbasket as long as she's happy. Too high maintenance for me, mate. What do you think about Clara in this?
Yeah, the thing is, Clara's totally sidelined in this episode, isn't she? And like you said, to be honest, she didn't need to be in it at all. In fact, now we look back at it, after the big strop from last week, this could have well been the Clara Light episode, because the next one, Flatline, is the Dr. Light episode, isn't it? Where he's hardly in it.
Yeah.
Which is the Clara Light episode? Is it this one? I'm not sure. But she didn't even need to be in this one, to be honest, because she doesn't add anything to it. And she basically, we get Perkins is more of a companion to the Doctor than Clara. She's kind of just locked away in that room to be sulky with Maisie.
Yes.
And that's all she gets to do. So I do agree with you. We didn't really need her in it. And if she is going to be in it, she could have been given something else to do other than mope around and moan. I agree. Yeah, and the odd scene phoning Danny as well and all that. It's like, it kind of slows that, because it's not interesting, is it? We're interested in the mummy and what's going on with that. So when we do get those scenes, you're kind of like, oh, I don't care. Yeah.
And she could have been in it at the end. The Doctor could have turned up and they could have had this little conversation, and she could have phoned Danny and turned around and said, he's fine, even though he's not. She completely lies to the Doctor.
Again, yeah.
And they would have been off. She didn't need to be in this story at all. And I'm really disappointed about that, because, like I said earlier, it could have been a great story. But for some reason, and I'm very sorry to Stephen Moffat if this is wrong, but it's just got Moffat written all over it. And I'm sure that when Jamie Matheson put this script in and Stephen Moffat had briefed him on what the overall story arc was and stuff like that, it probably just needed to be in there for that sake.
Yeah, sort of shoehorned in. Yeah.
So, yeah, not really a fan. I mean, Clara, as, Jenna Coleman was fine in the episode. No complaints with how she brought the part, to life. Mm-hmm. Playing this kind of stroppy, I need a bit of attention sort of thing. She played it relatively well. I just feel that the character itself just was irrelevant completely in this story.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I agree.
It's likened to some of the classic episodes where Bonnie or trying to think of someone else like Nicola Bryant's character, where they have no purpose in the story other than to just have the odd scene of them running away screaming.
Bit like, you're thinking of Revelation and stuff like that, where she got absolutely nothing to do. Yeah.
Yes, it's a bit like that. She's quite useless in the story, but she has to be there for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So yeah, and Capaldi.
For me, and I've said this a few times now, I think he was written superbly in this episode. In fact, I don't think he's been written better. I think Jamie Matheson just nailed it with the Doctor's character. I love the fact he's in charge. I love the fact that he's like the scientist figuring it out. I love the way he looks. I love the costume. Yeah. Mm-hmm. For me, when I watched this, I thought Capaldi's hit his stride. This is it. He's found his Doctor. And it's kind of annoys me when I think of how he's been written in Series 9, although I liked a lot of Series 9 compared to this. Because there's none of that fumbling around, throwing out one-liners that don't suit his Doctor. In this, he's as cool as a cucumber, and he's really... Yeah. He plays the humour that he does have much more subtly, like when he's saying, "Can I talk about the planets now?" Because Clara's going on, and he's grumpy, likeable, in charge. To me, it's the perfect characterisation of his Doctor. I love the way he's written in this, and I think he acts it and plays it brilliantly. I would have liked to see him been like this a lot more, because it annoys me in Series 9. Like, even in the scenes with Davros when he's bumbling around and he's making silly jokes that are more like the 11th Doctor than his Doctor. No, this was perfect for me. The whole jelly baby, talking to himself, working stuff out, the stick on the beach, everything about it. It's my favourite characterisation of the 12th Doctor. I just love it.
That's fair enough, dude. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think he's more like Tom Baker in this episode than just that impression. I think he is quite like... I think it's the way that the character was written in this one was quite like the Fourth Doctor a lot. The whole talking to yourself thing. Because back in the day, Tom Baker had some scenes like that, like the Ark in Space. I'm thinking of where he's like chatting away to himself. They can't quite decipher what's going on, and then he's like flitting back between talking to them and talking to himself, and so he does have that classic feel to it. But his Doctor on this one, like you say, he's not clowning around a lot. There's not these stupid one-liners and stuff, and it's weird because I actually enjoy Series 9 more than Series 8, but I enjoy Capaldi's character of the Doctor more in Series 8 than Series 9, if that makes sense.
I'm starting to think that as well.
Yeah, because he is a bit more. He is written in Series 8 to be a bit more... Yes, he is a bit more grumpy and stuff like that, but that's why they cast him in the first place, because of that stuff.
His Doctor seems a bit more confident, a bit more sort of strict, and like he's standing up straight and like, I'm not having it. And he's very much in control. Yeah. Whereas the Doctor we're getting from him in Series 9 is a little bit like he's sort of hunched over and scuttling around and not very confident. I don't know. I just like the more confidence that he has in this. Yeah.
And he did play this, the Doctor in this particular story, very, very good.
Yeah, I think he's electric.
Great. Yeah. And lastly, before we move on to scores, I just want to mention the soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Very quickly, because there are a few moments in this where it sounded just like a 1970s Doctor Who episode. I don't know if you caught that.
Yes, yeah, I think the soundtrack's nice. We get foxes at the beginning doing
Foxes,
their little
yep.
song, don't we? And I remember when she was announced, and everyone was like, "Who the hell's Foxes?" And she's gone on to do all right, actually. But yeah, no, it's quite a nice little soundtrack, nice little beginning. Yeah,
yeah, and not just that song at the beginning, but just the music at certain points throughout the episode. It sounds like an old classic Doctor Who episode, and it suits this really well because it's meant to be set in that time, isn't it? Like it's proper old school. It looks like 50s kind of Boardwalk Empire kind of vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. So the soundtrack suits it very, very well. Is it 30s, 50s, or 40s, something like that?
Yeah, no, it does. I know what you mean. It's not too overbearing either, is it? Even in the sort of like action scenes, it's not too overbearing. The style you mentioned, actually, I've just got to say, is the whole style of the episode is good. I forgot about the how do you say it? Sarcophagus.
Sarcophagus, yep.
Which is another bit of a throwback to the Fourth Doctor, which reminds me of something out of Pyramids of Mars, doesn't it? The whole design of it is really, really nice.
Yes.
Don't know why it's got bubble wrap inside it though. Did we ever get to the bottom of that?
No. Well, maybe that is a little dig at the Ark in Space, because that's
yeah.
The monsters in that were basically made of bubble wrap.
Bubble wrap
from Tom Baker. So yeah, it looked very good though. Like the way it opened up with all the lights and stuff.
Oh, it does. Yeah, I like it.
It was very Pyramids of Mars for sure. So that was The Mummy on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
Our thoughts. Let's move on to scores. I think it's me.
It's you, isn't it? Yeah.
To go first. Okay. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Okay. Yeah. I must admit, before I watched this again the other night, I was in my head thinking, this is a 9. This is a strong 9.
Yeah.
I have to say, I've gone down ever so slightly. Still think it's really good, but I'm going for 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. Very good. Really good, Dave. I do enjoy this one a lot. An awful lot.
Did you knock a couple of half a point off or something because of...
It wasn't... Yeah, it just wasn't quite the epic episode that I had in my memory. I still really enjoyed it, but I'd forgotten about all the stuff with Clara and all that sort of stuff. And
right.
Yeah, there were just a few little bits that weren't quite, because it took a little bit to get going as well. I mean, we've got the brilliant intro with the woman being knocked off by the mummy and all that. But then there's that. Yeah, it takes a while when Clara gets locked in the room, and I was thinking, come on, let's get into it.
Right.
But yeah, still really enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. Still think it's a cracking episode and a brilliant idea. Do we ever find out who Gus is, the computer behind it all? Because the Doctor mentions him, says, "Oh, I spoke to him before," and all that sort of stuff. Do we ever find out what that's about?
No, we don't, because right at the end, he does mention that he wasn't able to sort of hack into the computer in time to find out, all that stuff about Gus and why he did that. So no, we don't. So it's a bit of a mystery.
Bit of a mystery.
Left untold.
Yeah, voiced by John Sessions as well. He's quite well known, isn't it? Which I didn't realise, and I've just seen it in front of me on the screen. I didn't even realise it was him.
Yes, actually, before we move on to our listener reviews, any fans of Red Dwarf out there, I thought that the guy who, the voice of Gus, was very much like the restaurant bots in Red Dwarf. When they go up, it's like, I want a chicken curry with something.
Yeah.
Sorry, it just sounded like the voice of that in Red Dwarf. But anyway, I gave it an 8 because I think it's a great story. I think Capaldi's brilliant. I just knocked a couple of points off because this whole Clara thing really just burns the bacon. It really just spoils it for me completely. Not completely, but it spoils like the shine.
It gets in the way.
Yeah, and without that, and maybe exploring a bit more of this mummy character, I think it could have been an amazing, maybe a 9.5 sort of episode, but it is what it is.
For a first script from Matheson for Doctor Who, it's a cracker though, isn't it? I remember thinking, this guy can come back, and in fact he does in Flatline, the very next story. So yeah, it's good, very promising.
Yes. What did you guys think to Mummy on the Orient Express? Let's do an audio clip first of all. This is Joe Sweeney.
Mummy on the Orient Express. Reflecting back on this episode, I thought it was a very well thought up episode by James Matheson, and also I must say is one of the best episodes of Series 8. And I like the concept of the story. It had a very strong pacing. The famous train Orient Express travelling in far reaches of space was very, very, very good, and also the mummy monster was very well thought up. especially when it was coming towards people and people had 60 seconds to live. That was really scary. And also, Peter Capaldi, he gave one strong performance in this episode, and also with the Doctor, had jelly babies inside the cigarette case. That was a really great touch to this episode. And Clara was okay in this one, not brilliant, but okay. And also that computer Gus I found him really ruthless and evil. Frank supporting cast was very good, like even Frank Skinner was really brilliant. He was helpful and funny. And it was a shame he turned down the Doctor's offer to travel with him in the TARDIS, because I think he would have made a great companion. And also I like the ending as well, that him and Clara made up and put their differences aside. So I'm going to give The Mummy on the Orient Express a score of 8 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, guys. I'll speak to you soon again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. You agree with you? 8 out of 10. Excellent.
8 out of 10, yeah. On Twitter, George Garrity. His Twitter name is @G_Unit91. He says, a highly overrated episode. Clara's random return was frustrating given her exit in the previous episode. The monster's costume was great, though. However, the other costumes weren't as much. Capaldi was okay in this. Frank Skinner was great too. The whole start the clock thing was annoyingly repetitive, and the story wasn't fully concluded. So 4.5.
4.5. Wow, that's low, isn't it? Yeah. Does the clock thing irritate you? I know a few people think that. They're like, oh, that clock going again. Do you think we only needed it the first time? It's like we get the idea, but I quite like it's in the old-fashioned style of a clock, so it doesn't really bug me that.
It didn't really bug me too much. Again, it wasn't. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Continuing on Twitter, Josie Cassini. I think I'm saying that right. Twitter name is Josie Melancon30. She says, it was a great episode, loved the countdown, the thrill about who was next, and what was the mummy and how to stop it. Josie likes that. Let's head over to do some more audio. This is Kevin Gilby.
Hello, lads at the Big Blue Box podcast. So, Mummy on the Orient Express. A fun, often underlooked Peter Capaldi story. I love this one. The whole feel, the atmosphere, space, trains. I'm surprised Doctor Who's never done this before. The characters in this story are really, really likeable, especially Frank Skinner's character. Slightly reminds you of the DJ from Revelation of the Daleks, where he's a fun little side character who plays a nice big role. The soundtrack is absolutely beautiful and fits the tone fantastic. The Foretold, genuinely creepy, and actually good Capaldi villain, along the lines of characters like the Teller and the Boneless. They are up there with some of my favourite New Who enemies. My only major complaint is there is a little bit of padding in the episode where sort of Clara and the other woman's trapped in the storage hold and nothing really happens between them. And I'm not a big fan of the character Gus, the computery type character who turns out to be the big villain. I like the accent, and that's the only positive thing I can say really about Gus. Other than that, a fantastically fun little sidetrack from the normal Doctor Who experience of scary monster, corridor running, scary monster fiasco that we usually get. I'm going to give this episode a solid 8 out of 10.
Nice one. Thank you very much, buddy.
Another 8 out of 10, yeah.
Yep. Lastly on Twitter, last couple, Peter Adamson, Pedro the Whovian says, overrated. 6 out of 10. And Dad Doctor Who fan, as in D.A., Doctor Who fan, one of the best stories of new Doctor Who. A shame Matheson's next story turned out to be so bad. But I think Moffat was to blame.
What, Flatline?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
I'm not saying much because I want to review that one. I don't want to give away my thoughts. Yeah.
On Facebook, Sammy Satine says, so a mummy on a fancy train. once it decides to kill you, gives you 66 seconds to live. Brilliant idea for a Doctor Who episode. Thank you, Jamie Matheson, for writing this. I like the Doctor's outfit and his cigarette case full of jelly babies. Nice reference to the empty child. Doctor dances, Are You My Mummy? I like Maisie. Clara felt like she was included in this at the last minute. Like it was meant to be a companion light episode. Excellent story, great acting, and Tom Baker impression by Capaldi, 8 out of 10.
Another 8 out of 10, excellent.
Scott Stearns. Frank Perkins as Skinner, especially his entrance from the shadows, was brilliant. And watching again, I noticed the background music a bit more in the beginning as trying to set up the noir vibe. One of the best from season 8. I love Capaldi playing in the sand on the beach as he asked Clara if he had lied for a purpose of making her feel better. The very last bit with Danny Pink and Clara and the big lie and addiction to adventure still grates on me, though. 8 out of 10. Dean Jones says, one of the most entertaining stories in recent memory and one of Capaldi's best so far. Capaldi gives a terrific performance. Love the Jelly Baby reference. The story is very engaging, a solid supporting cast and a great monster in the Foretold, and an intriguing villain in Gus. Only real criticism is Clara's appearance being straight after the ending of Kill the Moon, which took me out of the episode slightly, but 9 out of 10.
Cheers, Dean.
More audio stuff. Alex Kingdom.
Oh, Gary Allen from the Big Blue Box podcast. Hope you guys are well. And first off, I just want to say, Adam, did you have a great time in Cardiff? Hopefully you did. Mummy on the Orient Express. Now, this episode, it's kind of a Marmite episode. I've seen people say they thought it was bonkers and bananas and people didn't like it, but for me, it's the best 12th Doctor episode in Series 8. Now, the only thing that comes close to this is Flatline, and that was written by also Jamie Matheson, who did the, let's just say, slightly irritating girl who died earlier on in Series 9. But Mummy on the Orient Express has a mummy. It has Clara trapped in a room doing nothing when she shouldn't have even been in the frickin' episode. And it also has what's his name, Frank Skinner in it. I think that worked really well, but I really like the ticking clock effect. I think that worked brilliantly. Some people disagree, but I think it's just fantastic. Also, I didn't like the fact that it changed into a science lab. I think that was a little bit unneeded. But apart from that, I love it. I think it's the best 12th Doctor episode in Series 8. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Thanks.
A 10?
10 out of 10, excellent. Cheers, Alex.
Cheers,
I did
Alex.
have a good time. Thanks very much, mate, you little star.
We're going to roll through with the audio. This is our good friend Loopy Lou.
Ah, Lou.
Hello, Lou. This was one of the best episodes in Series 8, if not the best, in my opinion. The Foretold is a proper scary monster. I mean, there's nothing much more fearful than death itself. Captain Quell, he was an interesting character. Honestly, I think anything with David Bamber in it is going to be good. He's a superb actor. Favourite quote, sometimes the only choices you have are bad ones, but you still have to choose. That was the Doctor. Mm-hmm. And so Clara chose to have her cake and eat it by lying to Danny and the Doctor. Naughty girl. So I would give this an 8 out of 10.
Thanks, Lou.
Cheers, Lou, and lovely to meet you on Sunday at the Comic Con. Yeah, brilliant.
Another 8. The 8s are coming in thick and fast.
They are, aren't they?
Right. Back on Facebook, George Coppen. Brilliant. One of my favourite Capaldi episodes so far. Loved all the guest stars, especially Frank Skinner. The idea of the mummy is brilliant, but I really want to know who Gus is. Also, I think after Chibnall, Jamie Matheson should be in charge. Gives it 10 out of 10.
I must admit, after watching this and the Flatline, I remember thinking, guys, we got a good writer here. Shame about the girl who died.
Yeah. But yeah, he's very good.
Yeah.
Ben Smith. The best episode from Series 8. Capaldi is phenomenal, but Clara is a bit annoying. The mummy looks great, very creepy. Love Perkins, would love to see him and Gus return. It's fast-paced, but even so, the resolution was a bit rushed. If it was an hour long, it would be perfect, but as it stands, it's a solid 8.5. Callum MacArthur. Fantastic episode, one of the best from Series 8. Love how Capaldi has a box of jelly babies, 9 out of 10. Lewis Palmer, definitely the second best story from the series. Great concept, executed brilliantly. I think the guest stars were good, but Clara was just so annoying yet again. No surprise there in brackets. Love the Jelly Baby cigarette case. Capaldi was on top form. Can't believe that this was aired 2 years ago.
Oh, same.
We said as well. It's crazy how time flies. Anyway, love this one, 9 out of 10. Finn Walsh, great story from Series 8, one of my favourite modern episodes. Jamie Matheson is a brilliant writer. Definitely want to see him back for Series 10. Peter and Jenna, great as always, a solid 9.
Excellent.
And lastly on Facebook, Adam Bryden says, at first when it aired 2 years ago, blimey, I didn't like it over time. I enjoyed it more, but I have a few problems with it, so I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Okay.
Keep it up, guys. Loving the show.
Cheers.
Thank you, Adam. And lastly, our audio clip is from our good friend Jay Kent.
And start the clock. Hey, Gary and Adam, nice to speak to you again. Now, I hated Mummy on the Orient Express when it first aired. I thought it was just a silly story made from a one-off joke in the previous series, and I thought that Clara's return after Kill the Moon was unsatisfactory. But now I see it as one of the best episodes in Series 9. It's inventive, spooky, and brilliantly funny. The characters are developed amazingly, and 12 is at his best here, showing the glee of the Doctor alongside how emotionally detached he can be. His Jelly Baby tin is a hilarious detail, and he looks brilliant in a tux. And Clara's dress is, well... Anyway, a fantastic episode with a light-hearted tone mixed with heavy themes. I'd give it a good 8.5 out of 10. And, unless both of you are on an alien mummy, I'll see you next time. Toodaloo, and hope you have a good rest of the show.
Nice.
Toodaloo, there's something you don't hear enough.
You don't. Thank you very much, Jay, and welcome back to sending us in your audio clips. Really look forward to those every week.
Awesome.
Did you have anything on the Geeks Handbag page?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Martin Badwilf Havel, he said it's the only episode of Series 8 that he liked.
Ooh, okay.
Spence Horton, he said, yep, the only decent story of Series 8. Gosh.
Wow.
Spence. Matthew Blanks says one of the better Capaldi adventures. Stephen McCullough from Vote Saxon 07 on YouTube, he says the only reason why it's judged as good is because it's a floating in the sea of very poor episodes. The timer idea is interesting but gets old fast. I hate how Clara blows so hot and cold. She was leaving now last week and now it's one last trip. Yeah, I think that annoyed a few of us. The sets were very boring as well, as the episode is primarily set on a train and it's clear they just built the one carriage and redressed it for different scenes. Liked Capaldi's Tom Baker impression, and the Jelly Babies in the cigarette case was a very nice nod. The Mummy was genuinely terrifying both in style and concept. A lot of tension. The fact that the only victims could see it was very chilling, and still shudder with disgust at the foretold hand coming through the Doctor's face. That is a great moment, actually. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Frank Skinner was very enjoyable, and I was surprised at how much I liked his character. Kind of feels sad at the end when he doesn't go with the Doctor and Clara. The scene on the beach really ends the episode on a good note, and we do get a resolution of sorts between the Doctor and Clara. It's an average episode shunted up a level or two by an interesting villain and a few good moments, and Stephen's given it 3 out of 5.
3.
Okay, so yeah, a little bit overrated, he thinks. And finally, Ryan Anthony says, where do I start with this absolute gem of a story? Ever since watching the trailer, this episode was one of the ones I was anticipating the most from Series 8. Whilst watching it, I had a constant smile on my face because I was acknowledging how consistently perfect the episode was. The acting was sensational, the setting was brilliant, the script couldn't have been better, and the plot was so simple yet original. I kind of thought, why hasn't a train-based story like this ever happened before? One other thing I adored in this was the supporting cast, extremely likeable. I actually cared for their fate. In fact, they kind of made Clara pointless in it. Perkins was one awesome character. This episode also contains my best ever quote. Sometimes the only choices you have are bad ones, but you still have to choose. Best modern Doctor Who episode ever, he says, and he gives it 10 out of 10. Thank you, Ryan.
A nice one, Ryan. Some really good scores overall. I think it's a few people not really impressed by the whole overall story. But I think overall, not a lot of love for Clara for this one.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's basically. I mean, it's a Clara light episode, but she should have just stayed at home and had a cup of tea with Danny, I think.
Yeah.
So
that was Mummy on the Orient Express. Thank you very much for sending in your thoughts. So next week, we're going to do something slightly different because we had a good day yesterday.
Oh, we did. Yeah.
Yes, we bagged an interview with somebody that we've wanted to talk about for quite a while. Because this particular era of Doctor Who is fascinating to us. So next week is not going to be the normal run-of-the-mill episode. It's going to be one of our interview episodes. And Adam, who did we chat to yesterday, and who can the listeners look forward to us interviewing next week?
We will be talking to Andrew Cartmel, who was script editor on Sylvester McCoy's era of the show. And it was a really, really good chat, wasn't it, Gary? I mean, we actually didn't want to let him go. We both said this. It's fascinating hearing Andrew talk about that era. And he's quite honest about it. He doesn't, he gives us some really interesting stuff about, what was going on at the BBC at the time and the show at the time, the casting of Sylvester, all sorts. It's brilliant. I just, you guys are going to love it. It's fascinating.
Yes, and we can't underestimate how important this guy was in the direction that the character and the show was going when McCoy took over. We get a little insight as well into some other things around the Colin Baker era.
Yeah.
And some other bits and pieces. So it's a really interesting interview. It's a really good chat with Andrew. So, yes, that's coming up next week. And we hope you enjoy.
Indeed.
And we're going to wrap there, buddy.
I was waiting for the music to kick in, yeah.
Here we go.
Get ready to dance.
So, episode 81 is done. Thank you very much for sticking with us and listening to the show as always. Mummy on the Orient Express, overall a great story. 8 from me, 8.5 from Adam.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go on the Orient Express as well. The real one, not the space one.
Well, as long as they've got plenty of jiggling and shaking around.
Yeah, I will insist on it.
Disappointed by the lack of motion.
Plenty of jiggling. What's going on in that carriage?
Plenty of jigglage.
Mind your business.
Oh dear, right, so next week. Yes, we're not going to have the usual news merch and review and all that stuff. We're going to have a good old chat with Andrew Cartmel, so I hope you enjoy that. That's coming out next Friday as usual. Head over to the website bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, or if the mood takes you, bigblueboxpodcast.com, whichever you like. You can listen to all the previous episodes there, and you can also link off to subscribe in iTunes and RSS, and you can go to Facebook and Twitter and HipChat and all that stuff. Sorry, not HipChat, Snapchat. Sorry, you can do all that stuff. any of the social stuff that takes your fancy. We're probably on there somewhere, so give us a follow. Remember to check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag.
Yeah.
Over on YouTube and Facebook. Loads of cool stuff over there. Go and check out Adam's videos. It's a huge pile of unboxing and reviews and location shoots and all sorts of on-the-spot stuff, which is great.
Wonder where we were going with that.
Phew.
Yeah.
And that's going to do. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And until next time, remember...